I'm your host, Zach Lay, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to speak about some ways to challenge your PAP medical report. If you're not happy, if you haven't watched my previous video, probably you know that just click somewhere here or here, I'm not sure. And go and have a look at those first. For those who watch my videos, probably remember that I ask for mandatory reconsideration. So what I have done, I had to. It took me so long time because it's 1 hour recording, and I had to do the script as I don't know how the word something script. So I just put, you can see here, so HP, just for them to know that this is what the health professional said during the conversation. Probably I'm not gonna send this, I mean probably I will, I'm not sure. So everything that she said, so they can have a better idea, instead of having complete that full form. That's quite long, to be honest. I think that would be work best for me. And if you remember when I talk about the benefits and work dot something .org or .gov.uk. So here you can find many. I'm gonna read a couple of those, not all of them, because there are 50. So it's over 50 ground of appeal with sample text, and that's updated from August 2020. Also, last time people they were asking about, that booklet that I used to hold. Now the benefits and work have updated some the newest version, and it's always something add-on, so it's good if you go and check on that. So let's see here, and here you have different I'm going to read you some of the index. So challenging the way the evidence was collected, for example, did the health professional give you time to answer all the questions, or was the medical at that time of day when you are not at your best? Did anything else happen that affect the standard of the medical? Then you have challenging the way the evidence have been presented. Has the HP failed to follow basic procedure in completing the report? Does the report contradict itself? Did the HP write in the third person where required? By the way, just to mention here, this is if you want to appeal. But again, not I'm not gonna appeal yet, but I'm gonna use this kind of basis to write my complaints, for example. Then it's only two here. Challenging the evidence considered alongside the consultation finding section. For example, has the HP read and made use of all the evidence submitted? No. Then here, what it says here, actually, I'm gonna give you out. Let me check. There it is. One second. That's it. So to give you an understanding of what is going on, so when you ask for the copy of the evidence that helped the decision maker used to have his decision, when you're going to ask for a copy, they're going to send you around 18 pages. It's a template. it's online as well. Have a look. So here you see this is page number 6 out of 26. So here it says functional history, including variability, daily living activities, and mobility activities. And the other one says history of conditions. And then you have current medication and treatment, social and occupational history. So all these they're going to go through your assessment. And after that, each questions at the bottom is justification for description choice. So here on what we talked before, let's have it. So challenging the history section, has the HP listed all your health conditions and impairments? I'm going to read a couple of those. Has the HP detailed any changing to your work life? Did the HP record what sort of day you were having? Did the HP ask if you can plan a journey? Then you can. Then here the next one says challenging observation section. Has the HP left any of the observation sections blank? Is the HP's information observations accurate? Here and then did the HP record details of your speech problem? Did the HP comment on your weight? Yes. Challenging the health, and I'll finish and I'll tell you what. Challenging the health professional opinion section. Has the HP fully justified the choice of descriptors? Is there enough details to justify the HP choice? And the last is challenging other issues. Has the HP accurately recorded timing of examination? And has the HP given the professional qualifications? What and how to challenge a PAP medical report? If you don't get, I'm going to try to read it from here. I will try not to speak quite fast. There. Right. Okay. So I have it in my hand. I'm going to try to oh, you're too loud over there. Perfect. So, why and how to challenge a PAP medical report? If you don't get an award of personal independence payment, or if the award is lower than you think it should be, then you may wish to challenge the decision using the mandatory reconsideration and appeal process. Always try to get advice if you do consider challenging a decision, especially if you have been awarded any rate of PAP. I didn't. Because your award could go down instead of up. You can find out more about the mandatory reconsideration and appeal process in the benefits and work guides. So, the reason I'm gonna appeal is not just because I want no, and my goal is to get the right points, because you can't give me 0 points for things that they're affecting more my life, and give me more points to things that they still have affected my life, but not so much. By challenging the medical report as part of your reconsideration or appeal. So you can use also for the reconsideration. Yeah, you are trying to undermine its credibility and persuade the tribunal that they should attach little or no weight to some or all of it. Well, when I call and I ask for mandatory consideration, the person on the other end of the line, she told me, well, since you get the enhanced daily living, it's better if you appeal for, if you ask for mandatory consideration just for the mobility activities. And I said I'm going to think about it, and probably this is what I'm going to do. We'll see. Do not overdo it. So, it says here. But one thing to bear in mind is that just because there are a large number of possible challenges in this guide, that doesn't mean it's a good idea to try them all. I repeat. Bear in mind that just because there's a large number of possible challenges in this guide that I'm holding now, that doesn't mean it's a good idea to try them all. So if you put them all there, then it's going to be too much. It says here, indeed, just one challenge, if it's a good one, may be enough to persuade the tribunal that the report is not to be trusted. On the other hand, write a submission or try to present on the day 20 different challenges to a medical report, and you may find the tribunal becoming extremely impatient and less willing to listen fairly to your agreement. Choose what you think are your strongest challenges to make it detailed, and if there's a lots of others than you really think are worth making, then make them in as condensed a fashion as you possibly can. I hope you understand, because I didn't understand this part. How to put your agreement. So although you can make a challenging verbally or in writing at the reconsideration stage, it's much better if you do it in writing if the decision is not changed on mandatory consideration, MR. This will provide the basis for a writing submission to a tribunal. This simply means sending them a letter setting out some or all of the case you wish to present. It doesn't have to be in formal language, and the briefer your submission, it is better. This particular the case as panel members don't actually get paid for reading the case paper for a hearing. So make your submission too long and it may not get read at all. So don't make it too long. Alternative, you can just turn up on the day and argue your case without having submitted anything in written beforehand. Shush. You can read more about appeal tactics and how to present your case in our guide or to PAP appeals. You can also download sample submissions. Okay. What is wrong with this sort of assessment? Okay. Challenging the way the evidence was collected. The person who carry out your PAP medical, it's usually referred to as a health professional, HP. They may be a doctor, a nurse, a physiotherapist, or occupational therapist, or another sort of registered medical professional. When a health professional carry out a medical, they are collecting and recording evidence for the decision maker. also called a case manager, to use when assessing your eligibility for PIP. If the health professional doesn't collect the evidence properly, then it will make the report less reliable. That's why you get what it says on the paper, and which is not true most of the time. Sample text. I requested a face-to-face assessment because my autism spectrum disorder make it very difficult for me to communicate effectively on the telephone. However, I was obliged to have a telephone assessment, which I found impossible to take part, and gave the shortest answer I could in order to end the call as quickly as possible. Rather than explain how difficult I find many activities, including communication, I simply gave yes or no answer wherever possible. As a result, the health professional report is based on only partial evidence. I'll give you another one sample. I requested telephone assessment or home visit because my arthritis and anxiety make it extremely difficult for me to undertake any kind of journey. However, I was obliged to attend an assessment center, which required me to travel for over an hour in each direction using public transport. I took additional pain relief medication as this was the only way that I could manage the journey. Even so, I was exhausted and in considerable pain by the time I got to the assessment center, where I had to wait for over an hour in very uncomfortable chair to be seen. The effect of the medication, fatigue, pain, and anxiety meant that I was unable to properly understand some of the questions I was being asked or given detailed answers. As a result, the health professional report based on only partial or unreliable evidence. That's why when it's always, if you're trying to give more details, then they will say, "Oh, you speak okay," and blah blah blah. If you don't say nothing, then they're not gonna write. They're gonna write their own decision. It's like it's not win-win. It's like lost. It's lost. Okay, so this about if the health professional was on time. Did the health professional give you time to answer the questions? It gives only one sample. The health professional sample text. The health professional seemed in a terrible rush and got very impatient when I tried to explain things to her. She would interrupt me or say, "Well, we'll come back on that," and then she never did. I thought that if I went on too much, she would just get cross with me, and that would affect what she wrote about me. This happened with me. As a result, there were lots of things that should have been in the medical report but weren't. Like this happens in my case. Did the health professional ask leading or closed questions? So they have to ask kind of open questions for you to elaborate. For me, most of the questions, they were like, do you do this? Yes. Do you do that? Yeah. Or do you do this? No. It's not. Only a few questions were like, so what did you do when? Or tell me about. Let's see. Okay. I found very difficult to give accurate information because of the way the health professional asked questions. For example, the health professional said to me, "You can manage to get to the toilet, all right, can't you? And you wouldn't have any problems with taking medication, wouldn't you?" So this is kind of leading questions to make you answer as they want to. I didn't feel able to explain to him the difficulties I had when they clearly thought I should have any at all. So I just said, I supposed to. I knew it wasn't right, but I felt he would just think I was a fraud if I didn't agree with him. As a result, the medical evidence from the health professional is not very accurate. Then you have, did the health professional write down everything you told them? Oh my god, this one, I'm gonna read this one for sure. The health professional doesn't have to agree with what you tell them, but they should write it down, and then, if necessary, explain why they don't agree. But what they mustn't do is just simply ignore evidence that you give because they don't agree with it. So I'm going to read this one because I think this is the majority of the times. I told the health professional that I often don't dress until almost lunchtime because my joints are so stiff and painful in the morning due to my arthritis. I would obviously prefer to dress first thing in the morning, as I always used to before my condition becomes so severe. However, the health professional has just written that I am able to dress without help. Not nice. Was the assessment too lengthy? Okay, this is not something that we want to read. Was the assessment too short? Well, if it's too short, just I'm not going to read that one, but you can just find this one on the sample. Was the medical at a time of day when you are not at your best? Was the venue unsuitable in case you have face-to-face? Did anything else happen that affect the standard of the medical? So I'm gonna read this one because probably it's relevant. If anything else occurred that affect your ability to give accurate evidence, like for me when she asked me 2 times about something and I reply with a question like, do you like about that? And then she could right, and then she continued. So she didn't give me the opportunity to answer properly the questions. If anything else can affect the ability to give accurate evidence to the health professional, then consider telling the tribunal about it. The kind of issue that might be relevant include: the health professional was very abrupt, making it difficult for you to talk to them. The HP kept taking calls on their mobile, and this upset you and prevented you from concentrating. The health professional first language was not English, and you had difficulty understand them, or they had problem understanding you. The HP brought someone with them, and you felt awkward about giving details of your condition in front of them. The HP was male, and you had specifically requested that you were visited by a female, or vice versa, and you were unable to speak openly to HP as a result. The HP appears very skeptical about whether your health conditions, for example, CFS/ME, those are what I just read now is it's health condition or terms, but in a shortcut, so it's always on your copy. Really exist at all. His comments on body language made it difficult for you to speak freely to him. The HP offered suggestions about what treatment you should receive and how you should manage your condition, and this made you suspect that he thought you should be able to manage better than you do. Okay, and then challenge the way the evidence was presented. Here there's no sample, but I'm going to read it. By this we mean flaws in the way the report was being completed by the HP. This includes things such as writing in the first person instead of the third, or using an explained medical term and abbreviations. Abbreviations, it's what I just read before with the CFS ME. Abbreviations. On their own, this may not be particularly damning, but if a health professional has made a number of procedures error, then this may raise question about the health professional ability to do their job. So, bitch, please do your job. Has the HP failed to follow basic procedure in completing the report? So here says the DWP often argue that disability analysis is a specialized discipline, and that the HP has been trained to access people's needs in a way that the doctors haven't. But if the HP can't even get basic procedure correctly, then it may be reasonable to argue that the HP does not have sufficient training or expertise in the area to make their report a reliable one. And this is again that's will happens with me as well. So does the report contradict itself? Let's have a look. And does the report contradict? If the report contradict itself, then clearly cannot. I don't know what means contradict, so I'm not gonna read that one. What's the statement? Oh, we'll read that one. Did the HP? Or so did the HP write in the third person where required? The report should be written in the third person, not the first. Parenthesis. He cannot get upstairs an 8 rather than I cannot get upstairs an 8. Only close the parenthesis. Only where the health professional is giving their own opinion should the first person be used. On its own, failure to write in the third person is not particularly damning, but if there's other procedures flaws in the report, it raises question about how well the health professional has been trained. Does the report contains terms that are not explained? It's about abbreviations before what we said before. Or jargon. Oh, the jargon. The full medical terms list term. Okay. Challenging the evidence considered alongside the consultation findings section. Has the HP considered all the evidence submitted? Well, she said that she read them, but I didn't see that it's been. Oh well. And here says, has all the evidence that you submitted and all the DWP have collected, such as a GP factual report form, been listed in the evidence considered alongside the consultation findings section? If not, then the HP may have failed to base their advice on all of the evidence available to them, and this may seriously affect the reliability of the report. Sample text. I submitted a letter from my occupational therapist giving details of the sensory processing issues I have and how this affects everyday activities, but the report is not listed in the evidence considered section or mentioned anywhere else in the consultation report form. If the person who examined me was not aware of these issues, then I do not consider that the report can be relied upon. And has the HP read and made use of all the evidence submitted? Even if the HP listed all the evidence correctly, is it clear that they have read? Is it clear that they have read it and used it in their report when appropriate? So simply listing an item of evidence such as a GP letter, but then never referred to it, even in relation to activities when it contains relevant evidence, is not acceptable. Like with me, where is it going? Where is it? At some point, she added 2 times the GP letter. Oh yeah, list of evidence. Consider alongside the consultation findings. So it's gonna be on your first page of your copy, and here says GP letter and the date, consultant's letter and the dates that I have. It was 4 of them. Referred to psychological therapies, but she never referred to those. So that's a foul over there. The HP does not have to agree with your consultant or GP about how far you can walk, for example, but they do have to explain why they disagree. Simple text. My main health problem is my back injury, but I also have Crohn's disease, and a letter from my consultant was included in the list of evidence considered by the HP. The letter explained that my Crohn's disease has not been effectively controlled by medication, with the results that I suffer from severe bowel urgency, making it difficult for me to go outdoors alone, and also severely limiting my social life and resulting in me becoming quite depressed and solitary. Yet the HP did not mention this letter at all when finding that I could engage with other people and plan and follow journeys. Okay, challenging the history section. In the history section of the report, the HP gather evidence from you about your condition, how it affects you, and what treatments you have had. It has sections covering a history of your conditions. This should include a list of all your health conditions and details of recent hospital visit and tests, your current medications and any treatments, your social and occupational history, including who you live with and your current or former job, and functional history, including how you spend a typical day and night, and any hobbies and interests you have. This section should also include details of how your conditions varies and the effects of factors such as pain, fatigue, and breathlessness. Any aids or appliance you use should also be listed in this section. And is this one contradiction trying to point out its importance of the effects it may have had on the rest of the report? Either several contradictions or one major one that argue that the entire report is so flawed that it should not be relied upon. Contradictions could appear anywhere in the report. For example, in one place it may say that you experience severe pain, and in another that your pain is moderate. So make sure to check your copy of the evidence, what the health professional said about you. Did the HP write the third person where required? The report should be written in the third person, not the first. He cannot get upstairs and ate. Cannot get upstairs and ate, rather than I cannot get upstairs and ate. Only where the health professional is giving their own opinion should the first person be used. On its own, failure to write in the third person is not particularly damning, but if there are other procedures flaws in the report, it raises questions about how well the professional has been trained. not explained. Does the report contains terms that are not explained? I think we have just this one. Has the HP listed all your health conditions and impairments? Do your conditions which affect your mobility or ability to carry out daily living activities, but which the HP did not include in the history of conditions in the report? If the HP appears not to have been aware of the conditions at all, then that will be a very serious failing in the medical report. If it's clear that the HP was aware of the conditions because they have mentioned it elsewhere in the report, it may still be worth raising an issue as evidence or lack of proper diligence in completing the report. So for me, when at some point, as soon as we start, I asked her, I said to her, like, I have sent my reports from my diagnosis. I don't know if you have it there. Yes. And she said, yes, I have everything here in front of me. So she confirmed that. So she can't say that she didn't have it because it's already in its voice. It's the HP summary of medical history detailed and accurate. Has the HP include all your medication and treatments? Has the HP dealt with side effects? Has the HP listed any of the therapies you received in the past? Has the HP described your home accurately? Might know. Has the HP detailed any change to your work life? Okay, and has the HP written sufficient details functionally history? Go read this one. Whew. So it's quite long. According to guidance, the functional history is an important part of the assessment process, as it should provide the case manager with a clear picture of the claimant's day-to-day life. Although failure to use the typical day approach is no longer listed as a ground for the report being considered unacceptable by the DWP. Guidance to HPs still stress the importance of a typical day being included in the functional history. However, in most of the recent reports we have seen, a typical day is very seldom included. I don't know what means seldom. This may be because it is time consuming to collect the evidence, but its absence may give grounds for a challenge to the value of the assessment. Guidance issued to assessment providers gives a lot of information about what should be in a typical day account. And here says, cool. The typical day is a tool to use to explore the claimant's perception of how they manage their daily living and the nature and extent of the functional limitations resulting from their health conditions or impairments. The HP should invite the claimant to talk through all the activities they carry out on a normal day, from when they get up to when they go to bed. The functional history is the claimant's own perception on how they manage the day living and mobility activities. What functional limitation do they have as a result of their health conditions or impairment? Is not the health professional's opinion of what the claimant should be able to do. It should be recorded in the third person and should make it clear that this is claimant's story. For example, he gets up at and says he can wash and dress without any difficulties. She states that she finds it difficult to lift heavy saucepans. Wherever possible, the record should contain specific examples to illustrate difficulty with activities. For example, He finds pattern difficult and tends to wear clothes that can be pulled over his head. She cannot manage to feed herself but needs to have meat cut up for her. And then the health professionals should explore all the PAP activities areas for daily living and mobility, focusing on the activities most likely to be affected by the claimant's conditions. So she chooses one probably and asks you. The HP should do this by using open-ended questions to begin with, such as, tell me about blah blah blah, and not just been asking a series of closed questions, such as, can you wash yourself without help? Yes, no, this is what she asked me, kind of. The HP should encourage the claimant to expand their answer, to explore how easy or difficult they find a task. Do they need help to carry out, or are they completely unable to do it and need someone else to do it with them? The HP should explore how long it takes the claimants to carry out tasks whenever they experience any symptoms, any side effects such as pain, fatigue, or anxiety, either during or after the activity. If help is given from another person, the HP should record the type of help, who gives it, how often, it's for how long. The HP is also advised to ask about household tasks, shopping, carrying another person or a pet. She didn't ask me. Hobbies driven vehicle in your current day-to-day life. Has the HP covered the whole of your day in the short or details set out above, or have they missed out issues or activities that the decision maker should have been made aware of? If the HP hasn't done a thorough and detailed job, then the whole of the report may be unreliable. Thank you. It depends upon an accurate functional history. Okay, there's some samples here. I'm not going to read them because I read the whole meaning about the thingy. Has the HP record accurate evidence about mobility and functional history? Is the typical day account inappropriate in your case? Has the HP accurately described the variability of your conditions? Variability is an extremely important issue. The functional history section of the form is supposed to be your account of the variability of your conditions, not the HP opinion. Has the HP recorded accurately and in sufficient details how a condition varies? The HP is told in their guidance that they should ask the claimant what they can do on good days and bad days. How many good and bad days do they have over a period of time? Question mark. For some conditions, different time periods will need to be considered, such as potential impact or different time of the day. If a claimant is unable to complete an activity or needs support to do so at a point in the day when you would reasonably expect them to complete it, the need should be treated as existing for the whole of the day, even if it does not exist at other point of the day. If in the functional history section, the HP should also record factors such as the effects of pain, fatigue, and breathlessness. Did the HP take into account difficulties with curbs? I don't know what's curbs. According to DWP guidance, walking should be judged in relation to a type of surface normally expected out of doors, such as pavements and roads on the flat, and include the consideration of curbs. Did the HP take into account problems you have with curbs? Did the HP take into account any walking aids you use? Have the HP described what effects activities you have afterwards? Did the HP ask whether you are able to use public transport? The guidance for HPs states, a person should only be considered able to follow an unfamiliar journey if they are capable of using public transport, the assessment of which should focus on ability rather than the choice. If you're only able to use the public transport with the assistant or another person, or only able to travel on a very familiar route, this should be noted. Sample text. The HP have said that I attend the snooker club regularly. However, I wrote in my form that I am unable to understand which bus I need to get and what time it will become, so I have to ask my friend to come and collect me or come on the bus with me, as I will get confused and get on the wrong bus if I was alone. That's happened with me. Did the HP ask if you plan a journey? Did the HP ask if you were able to ask others for directions? I'm gonna read only the sample text. Let's see. The HP said that I have good concentration and do not suffer from cognitive impairment, and therefore I'm able to ask for help if I get lost. In fact, because of my ME/CFS, I can become very suddenly overwhelmingly fatigued when walking outdoors. I told the HP this. I can then become very foggy and confused about where I am and where I'm going. I need someone with me to monitor my conditions and help me to find somewhere to rest, recover, and then continue walking. Did the HP ask whether you can cope with small disruption to travel? Oh my god. The HP should consider what happens to you if something unexpected should occur, such as roadworks or change or timetables, and whether you could cope. So much stress about this. The HP, shall I read the sample? Okay, I'm going to read it. The HP have said that I can ask someone for help if I can't understand the change to my bus route. However, the HP did not ask me what I will actually do if I need help. I will get so upset and scared as the thought that I might not be able to get home that I will have a panic attack and find it difficult to breathe. Have collapsed due to a panic attack before, so I will not be able to go out without someone with me, as I am not safe on my own if anything unexpected should happen. Did the HP ask whether I become anxious when on familiar routes? I'm gonna read this. There's only one page. There's another, let's see if excuse me. There's another, it's page 16 until 24. I'm gonna stop this one here because it's too long. And I'll do another one video with the rest of the part. So here says, did the HP ask whether you become anxious when unfamiliar route? Even if you are able to plan journeys and follow routes, the HP should ensure that you are able to take advantage of these abilities. So, for example, you may be too anxious to travel on unfamiliar routes because you suffer from bowel or bladder agency, leading to incontinence, and always need to know where the nearest toilet is. Sample text. The HP stated I was oriented and able to concentrate, but I told the HP that I am scared to go out on unfamiliar places because I get very agitated around people I do not know do not know, and this can cause me to be extremely anxious, and at times I can lash out, which can cause problems with strangers. I tend to stay at home or stick to using my bike to go into my local village because I know very well. I keep my head down and do not speak to anyone, that's me, as is required, and I feel anxious and distressed outdoors around other people. This is how I feel. And the last two of this part says, has HP considered the effects of discomfort, pain, fatigue, and breathlessness? While these symptoms may not necessarily stop you carrying out the activities in the first instance, they may show that you cannot do it as often as is required, and that you should therefore score points for activity in questions. And has the HP considered safety, including falls when you walk? The HP should consider whether there would be a substantial risk to you or to others if you were out alone. They should consider whether you could injure yourself as a result of being unaware of obstacles. For example, due to a visual impairment, whether you lack the ability to spot or deal with danger. For example, learning difficulties may mean you do not realize that you could get knocked down and injured as a result of running into the road. Whether you are at risk of falling in and injure yourself seriously because for example, you have osteoporosis and could easily break a bone if you fall. In relations, sample text. In relations to fall, the HP have simply stated no history of falls. However, I did tell the HP that I had stumbled frequently both indoors and out, and that I no longer go out alone for fear of falling. Because my condition had caused me to put on a great deal of weight, and because of my age and the lack of strength of my arms, I'm very concerned that I would not be able to get up again if I did fall. I would ask the tribunal to attach no weight to the HP findings in relation to fall because he has failed to record and take account of the relevant evidence. So, there's a few more, but as I said, I'm going to read them on the next video. Because remember in the beginning when I said about I'm trying to write down all this thing about from the recording, and it took me ages. I mean, on the 28th is going to be my last day for my reconsideration, and it's not ready yet, and I'm already stressed myself. But yeah, let me know if you find any of those questions helpful, and if you want to give you an example text of the questions that I have of the subjects that I didn't say the sample text because there's too many, and click the like button, subscribe to my channel, don't forget that, so you'll get notified when I upload the next part of this. So I'll leave you with that. Let me know your comments below, and see you next time. Bye.